Shane Van Gisbergen is taking it to the streets again in Chicago, while Bubba and Bowman go nose to tail, and NASCAR is up in the air about its return to the Windy City. These are our top topics coming up on Fast Talk.
Fast Talk is presented by Toyota. For the latest Toyota Gazoo racing information, visit tgrna.com. And by Sunoco. From NASCAR to your car, Sunoco Fuel helps your car reach peak performance. Now, here's the host of Fast Talk, Doug Rice.
Certainly hoping you had a great Independence 4th of July weekend, and now the Chicago street race is in the books, and a very familiar name comes out on top, and that's Shane Van Gisbergen. Alexis, I was thinking, if I'm a person that lives in Chicago and I don't follow NASCAR, after the 3 years that NASCAR has been going there, I think that Shane Van Gisbergen is like a reincarnation of Richard Petty or Mario Andretti, because that's the only name I'm familiar with.
Yeah, for sure. I heard that he had incredible merchandise sales this weekend. So I think Shane, after these 3 years of being in Chicago and just really impressing everybody there and watching, from afar, has gained a lot of fans.
Especially there.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately for Shane, probably be the last trip to Chicago, and he'll have to go cultivate a new cult of followers as far as the street course is concerned. I listened to some Toby Keith this weekend, and there's a line from I Love This Bar. It says, "We got winners, we got losers, chain smokers, and boozers." Okay, I don't know if NASCAR has any chain smokers or boozers, but we had winners and losers this weekend. Shane Van Gisbergen, the big winner, obviously winning the Xfinity race and the Cup race, and Bubba Wallace poised to maybe getting closer to the playoffs, comes out now, and he has just the smallest razor-thin margin to make the show.
I would love to know kind of what he was thinking yesterday, because clearly, he had different goals than I would have potentially had if I were him. I would be wanting to get every point I could get and make sure that I was padding my cushion, knowing that I was on the bubble and that, we were getting closer and closer to the playoffs, that cut line is probably going to move again, potentially. But he really just wanted to go after Alex Bowman. So I'm not sure. He lost his temper. Clearly his emotions got the better of him, and he wound up, after having a bunch of different incidents throughout the race, but getting to a point towards the end of the race where he could have had an okay finish, he kind of took himself out of that.
There's a phrase that they use sometimes in the military about seeing the red mist.
Yes.
That I can't see anything because I'm so enraged. And I think the red mist got the better of Bubba Wallace yesterday, and it may or may not wind up keeping him out of the playoffs. Let's hear from the victors. Hail to the victors. Here's Shane Van Gisbergen.
Our team has been really cool to be a part of this year, the 88 guys and girls. The start of the year was pretty rough for us, and, we didn't do well at COTA where we thought we would, and it just, we've just been getting better and better, and just the atmosphere of the guys and how focused they are, and on the grid or on the start line there after the race, seeing how much it means to everyone that's why we do it, how stoked everyone was, and even having JP back who hurt himself at Pocono, just such a valuable member of our team, and I know that his body's pretty beat up, and to get in there and no complaints and say he's not hurting, to do what he did on the tires there on the rear end was epic. So yeah, as a team, the 88 team, it's really cool to be a part of it.
By the way, the word is that Shane Van Gisbergen has been released from the oil drum where that was recorded. Brad Gilly, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. That's pretty funny. Yeah, they had the media center set up in a parking garage is where they made the makeshift media center this time. And hey, look, you deal with what you're dealt, and it all worked out well. But you're right, there was quite the echo in the background, but that's literally where that was emanating from.
Brad, I'm thinking now Shane Van Gisbergen, he's not the gimmick anymore. I thought when he won that first race, okay, this is the ultimate flash in the pan. He won the first Chicago street race. We'll never hear from this guy again. He's backed it up with 2 other road course wins, 3 career wins. He has as many wins in his career as Ricky Stenhouse.
Oh, look at you. I knew you were going to come with some sort of number of how that goes. Couple of things here, all right, that come into play with this one with Shane Van Gisbergen. Number one, He is now the 4th driver with multiple victories this year, joining Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, and who's the other one? Oh, yeah, Denny Hamlin. All right, only one. Number 2, we're never going to have more winners than what we have playoff spots for in a regular season. But if we were, number 3 on this, Shane Van Gisbergen is guaranteed a spot in the playoffs. While he might be the lowest in standings right now as a winner, he has 2 wins. Those 2 wins take priority over the next in line when you start climbing up into the point standings among the drivers who are outside of the top 16. 2 victories, guaranteed a spot in the playoffs, no matter how many winners we have in the next 7 races.
Yeah, and in the next 7 races, another couple of road courses, you could potentially see SVG heading into the playoffs with 15, 20 plus playoff points. That's got to be scary for some other drivers in the playoffs.
We discussed this after he won at Mexico City. Shane Van Gisbergen has one job, and that job, Alexis and Brad, to win on road courses. Everything else beyond that is gravy.
Absolutely. And I mean, Justin Marks, when you think about the business decisions that he'd made, I mean, look, news came out this week that Daniel Suarez is no longer going to be at Trackhouse next year. This is why. Because you have someone like SVG who is winning races. You have Ross Chastain who has won a race. You have someone waiting in the wings like Connor Zilic who is, just as poised to win on road courses as potentially SVG is. Shane Van Gisbergen now has more wins in his Cup career than Daniel Suarez has in his Cup career. That's kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah. And
it shows you why.
They're tied, yeah. Oh, no, he has more.
No,
You're right. I
he
forgot
has
about 3.
more. Yes.
Yeah, 2 just this year.
Yes.
My apologies. You're absolutely right.
No, he has more.
Wow.
And, I mean, that shows you why, the cards have fallen where they have.
no, it's a beautiful play by Justin Marks, by everybody at Trackhouse to put this guy in. And as you said, he's poised to maybe end the season with 5 wins total. Now, that's probably a stretch to think he wins the next 3 road course races. But, Brad, I would not be shocked when you're out in Sonoma this coming week if we don't see that 88 flashing across the start-finish line first.
Yeah, well, here's the great thing. He didn't run this Cup race last year. So we don't know what Shane Van Gisbergen can truly do in a Cup car at Sonoma, but one of the quotes that he had, I think it was on the MRN broadcaster, it might have been with Lee Spencer post-race as well, but he said, when I come to road courses, it's like I'm on holiday. That's how much he enjoys it. That's how comfortable he is. That's how confident he is when it comes to this. And the other thing I like about what happened over the weekend with Van Gisbergen was not even just yesterday what he did in the Cup Series race, but what he did Saturday in the Xfinity race. Because what's the one thing that we've talked about Shane Van Gisbergen needs to learn in this other than running on ovals, which now he's finishing in the teens and 20s instead of the 30s, but that's how to be aggressive on the racetrack. He has not taken NASCAR fully as a full contact sport until Saturday when he moved his teammate Connor Zilic out of the way to be able to make sure he grabbed the checkered flag.
By the way, just from my point of view, the cheap seats here, I saw no problem with that. You're trying to win the race. There are people that have made their entire careers out of moving folks out of the way to get the W.
I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say this is a full contact sport. And
it is.
So
yeah,
have at it.
You turn them loose, boys.
Yep.
No, it's boys have at it. But either way, I get the point. Shane Van Gisbergen, his 2nd win of the year. He is playoff bound. Let's go ahead and extrapolate out. Brad, we'll start with you. We were talking about this before the show started. There is a path. I feel like I'm projecting winners here.
For precincts.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
There is a path for Shane Van Gisbergen to, I won't say easily, but very realistically, get to the final 8. And it all hinges on the Roval at Charlotte.
Yeah, when he got that win at Mexico City, Todd Gordon, former championship crew chief who we both worked with before, that was like the first thing he came out of, because when you get to the round of 16, remember, you have to be the top 75% of drivers. They drop off 25% of them. So really that first round, you think 4 drivers are going to drop off. Somewhere along the way, 4 teams are going to have issues. Just hit the ball down the middle. Don't do anything crazy. Make sure you finish these races. It's like the don't screw up round. If you don't mess up, you're likely going to advance to the next round. He's also going in, and he's going to have a little bit of a collection of playoffs points that will help that as well. And then when you get to the round of 12, well, the final race of that is on the Roval at Charlotte. So if you can keep your nose clean a little bit ahead of that and then come to the Roval and make some good things happen, why not? I don't know that I'd put him into the championship 4. I don't see that same path, but the round of 8 would be pretty darn impressive for that team.
Alexis, Brad's right. All you got to do is play old man golf.
Yeah.
Just
hit it in the
down
water?
the middle of the.
Oh.
Yeah.
Lay it up.
Go ahead.
Oh, wait, that's Brad golf.
Just avoid
Yeah.
the double bogey and
Sure.
the snowmen and score decent scores, and you'll and come and win at the Roval. Now, the linchpin is winning at the Roval.
I think that is, and I think, you have to look at the fact that collection of these playoff points, which he, I think he has 11 now because he does also have one stage win, and potentially getting another one road course win, maybe 2 before the playoffs start. I mean, that is a cushion that team could certainly use to propel them further in the playoffs than anyone thinks they might be able to go.
A little bit later on in the show, we're going to talk about 2 drivers that are struggling mightily right now. We'll hit that in the next segment. But first up, let's give you our Toyota performance report. The Toyotas were heavily populated in the top 5. Second was Ty Gibbs. Third was Tyler Reddick. Denny Hamlin was 4th. John Hunter Nemechek, he's still alive, by the way, in the in-season tournament, was 15th. 17th to Riley Herbst. Chase Briscoe, 23rd. Eric Jones, 25th. At 28th to Bubba Wallace. We'll talk more about him later on. That's our Toyota Performance Report, brought to you by Toyota. For the latest Toyota Gazoo racing information, visit TGRNA.
Here's what you missed last week on Toyota Gazoo Racing. Bubba was totally... as he... around the pack, managing to... across the finish line to claim the... in victory lane. Now you're up to speed. You in? Follow the action at tgrna.com. Toyota, let's go places. NASCAR is a registered trademark of the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing, LLC.
Whether your engine runs daily or only when you need it, Z-Max Micro Lubricant is the force you need against carbon buildup that can damage your engine. Combustion causes carbon and other harmful deposits to build up in your engine, fuel system, and transmission. And carbon is like sandpaper rubbing against your engine's internal parts. You don't want that. You want Z-Max Micro Lubricant. It soaks into metal and keeps your vehicle running at peak performance. Find out more at zmax.com or visit us on Facebook and Twitter. Protect your engine to the max with Z-Max.
This is Carson Hocevar, and you're listening to PRN, the Performance Racing Network.
It's hard to believe in this day and age in the United States of America that children are hungry.
Our time on this planet is short. We have to give back to those in need.
Every child has a chance, no matter what obstacles they may encounter.
Never have we been taxed more as a society to help kids the way we are right now.
At Speedway Children's Charities,
our mission
is simple.
Help every child we can.
Because all children
deserve joy
and hope
and love.
I'm PRN's Doug Turnbull, co-host of the 5 to Go podcast, a weekly deep dive into 5 motorsports issues. Devin Kupka gives the Gen Z view.
One thing that I've never seen before, when the cars got 4 wide, everybody stood up cheering.
And championship-winning mechanic Dan Elliott leans on his decades in the garage and promoting.
Unless everybody is aware of the rules, then no, it's not fair for everyone.
Listen to the 5 to Go podcast on GoPRN.com and subscribe on Apple and Spotify.
Talk here on PRN. Doug Rice along with Alexis Erickson, Brad Gilley. For the next little bit, we'll still be breaking down the events from the Chicago street race. And we have a very odd situation, Alexis. The person still leading the overall regular season points is William Byron, but you wouldn't know it from the last 2 months.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at his finishes, at least the last 5 races, he's got 4 races of 27th or worse. Yesterday in Chicago, it was the shortest day of all for him. He started having issues on the pace laps. I think it was a clutch issue. They credited him with 1 lap, and he finished last, which, I mean, when you look at where the point standings were for the regular season championship, which pays off quite a bit of playoff points at the end, he's shrunken it. I think it's 13 points now that separate him and teammate Chase Elliott. So I'm not exactly sure what's happening with that number 24 team. They're going through a bit of a summer slump, which is known to happen to teams from time to time. They get into the summer months and things happen. But when you think about how close now that regular season championship is, I think they need to get up on the wheel a little bit over there on the 24 team.
And his last 4 or 5 races, he's done what now again?
27th. So at Michigan, he finished 28th. Mexico City, he got a top 10. He finished 9th at Mexico City, but Pocono was 27th, 37th at Atlanta, and then last on the field in Chicago because of that clutch issue. So, it's been a trying few weeks for that 24 bunch.
All right, Brad Gilly, is this a troubling trend or just an anomaly for William Byron?
All right, so I will take the positive side.
Shocker!
I know.
It's our version of Mr. Brightside.
I think it's an anomaly, and yes, it is 13 points that separates him from 2 teammates, by the way. Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson are the next ones chasing him, so the people he's got to beat, their cars are pulling out of the same campus at Hendrick Motorsports. But here's my positive spin. You ready for this? I'd rather get all my bad luck out of the way right now with 7 to go before the playoffs begin than have the bad luck start when the playoffs begin. Look, a comedy of errors to Alexis points, and it was that incident that happened in practice that caused him to spend all day Saturday and into the night fixing that car that ultimately led to that clutch failure right there at the beginning of the race yesterday. So, and that clutch failure, I talked to Rudy Fugel today. He said that's not something we would have seen. To replace the clutch, you have to pull the engine out of the car, and they were trying to prevent doing that and going to a backup car. So unfortunately, that's what hurt them. But Sonoma's not been that kind to William Byron. So let's not necessarily expect that that's going to happen this weekend. But we get to Dover, we get to the Brickyard, we get to Iowa Speedway, we get to a lot of these tracks coming up. I think they can have a lot of success, and I think they can actually pull it out. They're a strong race team.
I think you could come out of Sonoma, though, Alexis, with Chase Elliott as your new regular season points leader. Based on what Brad was saying, that William Byron, that's not his exact sweet spot. And for Chase Elliott, even though yesterday wasn't, a shining example, he's still pretty good on the road courses.
He is, yes. I mean, you can't overlook Chase Elliott on the road courses, even though in this next-gen era he hasn't been as good as he was before that. But if I'm William Byron, and to Brad's point, I'm going up against my teammates who I know are very good. I might be a little bit worried that I'm going to lose those playoff points going into the playoffs this year. So I think, and I agree, maybe perhaps, there isn't a huge need for worry. They're in the playoffs. They're going to make it, but you need that cushion. And he's close to potentially losing that. So.
All 3 cars that are in the top of regular season points belong to Hendrick Motorsports. Byron leads it. Chase Elliott, 13 points back, just 19 back. Kyle Larson, we're not talking much about him lately.
Yeah, he's in maybe potentially a bit of a slump too there. I do want to mention, though, Chase Elliott, we talk about consistency from that team, and that's why, even though they finally got a W last week in Atlanta, that consistency is what's put them in the second place. And again, he has finished top 20th or better. He finished, I think, 16th yesterday. 16th. And so that streak of top 20 finishes is what's got him there, and it continues.
Brad, I feel like it wasn't that long ago on this very show we were talking about Bubba Wallace putting together his best season ever. Maybe he goes into the playoffs with a bushel basket of playoff points and a win or two. And now we're thinking, can Bubba Wallace even scratch into the playoffs?
Yeah, the first half of what we've had so far, wow, they have a lot of speed. They're fast every week. His new crew chief, Charles DeNike, who last year was a Truck Series crew chief for Christian Eckes, and they won 4 times, has really gelled with this team at 2311 Racing. But then, and this might be the theme of a lot of people this year, William Byron, Kyle Larson, Bubba Wallace, Alex Bowman, another one who sort of fell into a comedy of errors. When they've not had performance issues, they've tripped over their own feet. Yesterday was a prime example of that, in hoping you were going to advance in a bracket and a chance potentially at $1 million, but then giving up 21 points on the cut line, and now you're just sitting at +2. That one was self-induced, and you cannot have those errors because anything can go wrong in a lot of these races. And truthfully, I look at the schedule coming up, and all right, do I see anywhere where there's a pathway to go, man, Bubba can have a great one here? Is it Daytona at the end of the regular season? Is it Richmond? Is it Iowa? I don't know that it's going to be Sonoma or Watkins Glen. Maybe Indianapolis is a place where they can do something. Although his best run at Indianapolis, incidentally, was actually on a road course at Indianapolis with the top 3 finish there. So I don't know that I see a pathway with the way they're running right now and his history at these tracks where I say, man, you're going to make big gains here. He's got a lot of people breathing down his neck and a lot of people above him who also perform well.
We'll continue this discussion of Bubba Wallace, then we'll get into Bubba Bowman next.
From fueling NASCAR champions on the track for over 20 years to innovating 94 octane, the highest octane on the market, performance is what Sunoco does. All Sunoco fuel at the pump meets the same top-tier standards as the fuel used in NASCAR. From the track to your tank, you can trust Sunoco to help your vehicle perform at its peak.
Welcome to the land of the free, where we pledge allegiance to the flag, salute racing's rich history, and raise a drink for the new gladiators who dare take on the last great Coliseum. The Bass Pro Shops Night Race NASCAR Playoff Weekend returns to Bristol Motor Speedway September 11th through the 13th. Get a weekend package and a camping spot and make it a weekend to remember. It's not just a night race, it's Bristol, baby.
This is Josh Berry, and you're listening to PRN, the Performance Racing Network.
Our planet is home to some of the most amazing creatures you could ever imagine, from the biggest bears to the smallest birds and everything in between. If we want our kids and their kids to experience the magic of wildlife that we have today, it's on us to step it up and take action. You can make a difference. Learn more about wildlife conservation in your area and how you can help. This is Eli Wenders. Let's make sure our wildlife is around for generations to come. Y'all take care of the earth and it'll take care of us. This message is courtesy of the United States Air Force.
The speed, the drama, the only NASCAR race in California. The Toyota Save Mart 350 NASCAR weekend rolls into Sonoma Raceway July 11th through 13th. 3 days of high-speed thrills, edge-of-your-seat action, and family fun in the heart of wine country. Bring the whole family. Kids tickets start at just $10. Don't miss NASCAR's biggest stars battling for victory. Get your tickets now at SonomaRaceway.com. This is NASCAR. This is California. This is Sonoma.
Well, it appears that we have a burgeoning rivalry in the NASCAR world. Two guys that just keep finding themselves coming together on the racetrack, especially when it comes to the Chicago street course. And we're talking about Bubba Wallace and Alex Bowman. Bubba offered little to no comment. He did talk to Jordan Bianchi quickly after the race, Alexis. What did he say?
I think he said it was fun or something like that. Had fun.
Talking about the tangle he had with Alex Bowman, but Alex was a friend of the microphone.
Yeah, I mean, his teammate passed him, and I just followed him by, and he absolutely demolished me into 12. I gave him a little bit back into 1, and then he drove into 2 and acted like I wasn't there, drove me straight in the fence, and then just turned me into a pinball between him and the outside wall, and I'm just trying to go straight at that point, and he ends up crashing himself. So I hate that happened. I thought we had squashed our beef. Clearly we have not, but yeah, just not really a reason for it. We both could have finished okay. And I thought when I followed Reddick by him, I'd be okay, but clearly that was not the case. So, yeah, move on to the next one.
So, Brad, now we have to ask, where's the beef?
Look at you go. Look at you go. Look, a rivalry is two people trading for position, battling for wins, and all of that. A feud is when there's anger involved, and I think this might be reaching feud status. Alex is right. To his credit, look, he was racing Bubba. He was racing him hard, but he was racing clean. You go back and look at a lot of those turns, you see Alex on the outside of a left-hander. He's got about a foot in between he and Bubba Wallace. And when he passed Bubba Wallace cleanly, then Bubba, all he did was use Alex Bowman for his brakes coming down off of one of those bridges and just drove him through the corner. And I think finally Alex just had to say, look, I'm going to go straight. If you want to sit there and weave in between the walls on this racetrack, at a certain point, you'll drive across my front bumper. And that's what happened. I feel like in this one, Alex made every effort to try and race cleanly and ultimately did. And Bubba, I don't know if it was advancing in the bracket or hanging on to his position in the top 10, whatever it was. But boy, he gave up a lot in doing that, finishing 5 laps down and losing a lot of points to the cut line.
I cannot believe for a second that it had to do with the in-season tournament, because if it did, then Bubba Wallace needs to get his priorities in line because in doing what he did, he put himself only 3 points up on the bubble, which we were talking about this in the break, Doug, that's where the cut line is now, with 12 winners. I would not be surprised with 7 races left if we only have like 2 open spots.
Right.
I could definitely see us getting a new winner this weekend at Sonoma. I could see it at the, regular season finale Daytona. There is certainly a path, as you say, for us to get, for that cut line to move yet again. And that just pushes him farther down. So I don't know where the red mist came from, as we talked about in the opening. But clearly it shifted his priorities in a very bad way.
And that moment of misjudgment, and I'm ballparking here. Let's say that Bubba Brad would have finished 10th. I think that's reasonable because Alex Bowman went on after that little tete-a-tete and finished 8th.
Yeah.
So let's just say Bubba was going to finish 10th. He wound up finishing 28th. That's right around 18 points that he lost or coughed up because he couldn't get away from William Byron, and he wound up getting crashed out. And I know Byron spun him, but Bubba has, I think, equal amounts of responsibility there.
100%. And I don't even think Alex spun him. I think Bubba spun himself off the nose of Bowman's car. I mean, I truly think that Bowman, if there is a percentage of his involvement in this, it's like less than 10. But those 18 points, that would have meant he only lost 3 on the day to the cut line. He went in at plus 23. Now he leaves at plus 2. So if he had had 18 more points, I mean, that would have been a much larger difference in where he was versus where he is right now. And I would say a lot of times you could say, well, it was the whole season. It wasn't just one race and blah, 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 blah. This could turn out to be that, yes, it was just one race where he gave it up.
He'll be looking back on this one for sure, especially if they yet again miss the playoffs. He has one playoff appearance.
And that was aided.
And there's an asterisk by it. With Chase Elliott being out for multiple races that season. So, we talk about it all the time. We've talked about it on the show. He needs to step it up and stop having moments like this.
And you can't, there is a point that you reach, and I like Bubba. I think he's good for the game, that you can't just say, well, we've had bad luck.
Yeah.
Because after a while, bad luck becomes a trend. If 2 or 3 times in a row, this was not bad luck.
This was making your own bad luck.
Yeah. Definitely.
This was recipe for disaster. And this may be the thing that keeps Bubba out. If he doesn't make the playoffs, he has to look back to this moment at the Chicago Street Course where he got tangled up with Alex Bowman and go, well, right there's where I coughed it up. Because you were in okay shape.
Yeah.
And now the margin is razor thin for you to have any kind of error. For everybody that has a Bubba Wallace kind of day, there's somebody else that doesn't, and they go to the opposite end of the rainbow. We'll chat about that next.
This is Kyle Petty for Echo Park Automotive, and I'm here to tell you why you should shop Echo Park before you buy a car, truck, or SUV. Over half of inventory at Echo Park is priced below $25,000, and car for car, truck for truck. Echo Park Automotive's pricing is $3,000 less than the competition. Maybe that's why Echo Park has over 95,000 five-star reviews. Echo Park Automotive is built to make sure you drive away happy. It's even in their name, Echo Park Automotive. Every car, happy owner. The official used car dealer of Speedway Motorsports.
Make your plans now to stay at the South Point Hotel Casino and Spa when NASCAR returns to Las Vegas. They have great race ticket and room packages for you to choose from. The South Point also features a wide variety of excellent dining options at 11 different restaurants. Or you can enjoy the 16-screen movie complex and visit the 64-lane bowling center. Visit southpointcasino.com and make your reservations today. Stay where the racers stay at the South Point Hotel Casino and Spa.
This is Brad Keselowski, and you're listening to PRN, the Performance Racing Network.
Time to pull down on the handle and start rolling them here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
The green flag flies at the Atlanta Motor Speedway.
We're about to contest the Coca-Cola 600. We're racing at Texas Motor Speedway.
Now Keselowski goes way up the racetrack.
Here comes Harrison Burton. He rockets to the lead.
Trouble. Car goes around. It's Chris Buescher.
Joey Logano battles to the outside. They come back to the start-finish line.
Bubba Wallace looks inside. And now here's Byron. Takes a quick left to block him. They head back to one.
Here goes Ross Chastain. He's going to the bottom of the racetrack.
Bubba goes up. Blaney hits the outside wall off of turn 2.
Can Christopher Bell do anything with him? He gets down to the bottom of the racetrack.
Briscoe dives to the bottom of the racetrack. Side by side. They get loose. They spin. Now Tyler Reddick does a 360. So does Briscoe.
Heading into turn number 7 as he wraps it around. The crowd is cheering for Daniel Suarez here on this final lap.
Allmendinger gets into Alex Bowman. Ross Chastain back out to the front for the final time.
This is PRN.
Fast Talk, Chicago street courses in the rearview mirror. Alexis, there were a couple of occasions that gave pause during the race. A caution came out. Josh Berry, it felt like he was on the track forever before the yellow got waved. And then the lack of a caution at the end of the race.
For a very hard hit by Cody Ware, I think potentially he lost a brake rotor or something and went barreling into some tire barriers at quite a rate of speed. And I think Jeff Gluck posted that he went to Cody's on-board camera and then timed it from when he hit the barriers to when they threw the caution. It was like 35 seconds. Some people have said, well, potentially NASCAR did that because it was the second to last lap. We were coming to the white flag and there was rain or lightning or something in the area that would have extended it out much further. And they wanted to make sure that we had an ending to the race. But NASCAR, after the fact, told Jeff Gluck of The Athletic that they just didn't see the accident happen. They didn't know how hard Cody hit. They didn't see the initial hit from that car into the tire barriers, and they thought he could potentially get out. So they waited a little while to see if he could back his own car out, and obviously he was not able to. They said had they seen how hard he hit initially, they would have thrown the caution sooner.
I will say this for NASCAR, and I'm giving benefit here. There were a lot of things during the race where people spun out.
Sure.
And they kept the flag in their pocket. Brilliant, because once you throw the yellow there, that's a lot of time to putter around the streets of Chicago before you go back to
I think about that lap 4 incident where Carson Hocevar was a pinball and collected a bunch of other cars. I want to say it was like it, and I don't know, I didn't actually time it, but it was like 15 minutes or something from when that happened to when they could get the restart back. It's just a long time at these road courses between yellow flags and the chews and all of the things that you have to do to get back to a restart and green flag racing. I will say, though, also, I want to put it in perspective. This course is so much different than any other course we go to. That it's obviously a temporary course, temporary cameras for what NASCAR can see in race control, all of those things. But maybe have like a marshal down there with a radio that says, we have a car hard into the barriers. Have somebody there monitoring that so that you don't have that lapse in time if they don't initially see it when it happens.
I don't think they'll have to worry about that at Chicago anymore.
Well,
maybe the next city we go to.
Potentially, yeah.
Brad Gilley, the Carson Hocevar NASCAR driver fan club is not growing.
No, it's not. A lot of great cars or potentially good cars were taken out in that incident. And I get that right now he is like a piñata and everyone's holding a bat, just trying to, beat it around. But look, here's the deal. Go back and watch the first year we were on the Chicago street course. Watch practice. Chase Elliott did the exact same thing. Ran into an interior wall with the right side of his car that shoved him out and hit left side in the wall. In fact, it might have even been in the same corner. But when the hits just keep on coming and keep on coming and keep on coming, then, it's really hard to, it's really easy to get a bad reputation quickly. It's really hard to repair that reputation, and that just takes time. It's going to be a lot of time.
He's got a lot of work to do on that one. A.K.A. Ross Chastain. He's still working on that. In-season tournament, we've not talked about it. Ty Dillon is still the big story. He came in the lowest seed at 32, Alexis. He's still alive heading to Sonoma.
Yep, he goes up against Alex Bowman this weekend in Sonoma. That should be interesting. I mean, every time, he's had a matchup so far, we're like, oh, well, he's the 32nd seed. No way he's going to make it. And here he is in the Elite Eight. So that'll be an interesting matchup. You've got Nemechek and Jones, two teammates going up against each other. That will also be very interesting. Ryan Preece and Tyler Reddick, and then Ty Gibbs and Zane Smith. So,
there is a very good chance that this thing could be won by a driver that has never won a race.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hands
all
down.
of the ones in it haven't won this year. So.
Yeah. Hands down. I mean, you had Chase Elliott get knocked out this round. He was by far the most popular driver that was still left in it. He got knocked out. I'd say, Bowman, Reddick, obviously they're very popular, but you could have an instance where a Ty Dillon or a Zane Smith win the whole thing. And I say that's awesome. Good for them.
So we could have a tie with the ties at the end of this thing.
It could be cool with the ties going against each other.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I like that. Which, by the way, Ty Dillon still hasn't beaten anybody. He's just finished in front of people. But the same holds true for a lot of the drivers.
This is
still
the
in
same
this
guy
bracket.
that says about winning the race. What do you always say that you got to have? Fastest car?
It's not
a fastest car contest.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's a race. But look, I think it's great. I don't know that they expected all of the top drivers to get knocked out in one incident at one track in the first race. I don't think that was the intent. Some of these matchups are really good. Look, Legacy Motor Club is guaranteed to be in the Final Four with at least one of their drivers because they're going head-to-head.
Mm-hmm.
They're the only organization that has two vehicles in it. And I know this is a driver's bracket, but you have 7 different organizations represented in this. I would hate to see that we're watching the bracket and the $1 million racing for 25th at Indy. I would like to see it be a couple of drivers who might actually be battling up within the top 10, but it doesn't matter. It's unpredictable, and I think that's what we found over these first 2 weeks.
This could be John Hunter Nemechek versus Zane Smith.
Yeah.
It'd be awesome. But it would be the most attention those two drivers have ever received.
Absolutely.
TNT will have a spotlight on them, or whoever the two people are that are running for the $1 million. And there's the potential that this could be a driver that we almost never talk about. So,
and you're right. It put a highlight on them. And I mean, you look at Ty Dillon and what the interviews that he has given post-race, the zingers that he has had. He beat Denny Hamlin. He said, I just want to let everybody know that if Denny Hamlin's your favorite driver, I beat your favorite driver. Then he had a quote yesterday about being Brad Keselowski in a basketball town. Because if anybody's ever seen that clip of Brad Keselowski playing basketball.
That one needed explanation.
It did. But if you knew what he was talking about, it was very good.
If you knew, you knew.
If you knew, you knew. That's right.
So Brad used the piñata expression earlier. That was the way they were talking about Katherine Legge after Phoenix, Alexis. They may have to put up the ball bats in the piñata for a while.
She did really great yesterday. I think she finished 19th.
Right.
After spinning.
Yep.
After hitting a tire barrier.
Yep. Yeah. You've got to think that was a great day for her. And then you think about the Saturday that she had, where she had to qualify in on time, and was able to beat Corey Heim. Obviously, he had some separate incidences where he was unable to get a fast lap because of just not doing well on his qualifying lap. But still, none the same. She made the race and she was able to finish in the top 20, and I have to commend her for that.
This is somebody that came in, Brad. I don't think this was a publicity gimmick. She wanted to do American stock car racing. I still look back at it and wonder why her first forays into this weren't a road course, though.
You get in when you can get in, and I have no problem. I admire her for what she was able to do this weekend, and honestly, what she's been able to do. Look, here's someone who's over 40 years old who has a long racing career behind her. She's run in top series in open wheel. She's run in top series in sports cars. She was a big part of that Nissan Delta Wing program in sports car for a long time and has had success in other forms. So if she wants to come over to NASCAR, fantastic, awesome. I think it's great, and I think what she did this past weekend should be celebrated. Look, a lot of people probably looked at 41 cars on the entry list and looked at the cars who were going to be the go or go homes and probably had her going out. That wasn't the case. She qualified for the race, and to finish top 20, I think was very, very special. I have not and have zero problem with her out there going to try and race. And guess what? She's improving, and we're seeing that.
And good on her. And the asterisk on this is, folks, she's not in very good stuff.
Yes.
She's
right.
not.
Absolutely.
She's not in a Hendrick Chevrolet or a Penske Ford or a Gibbs Toyota. She is in third-level equipment and managed a top 20 finish at Chicago Street Course. So that deserves a pat on the back. Way to go, Katherine Legge. All right, we'll take a time out, come back with a little green flag, black flag.
When it comes to maintaining your engine to run at peak performance, trust Z-Max Micro Lubricant. Z-Max soaks into metal, so it's easy to add to your oil or gas to disperse carbon buildup in your engine, fuel system, and transmission. Protect your vehicle's engine to the max with Z-Max. Check us out at zmax.com or visit us on Facebook and Twitter to find out more about our full line of products. Remember the name Z-Max for your car, big rig, small engines, firearms, and more. That's Z-Max Micro Lubricant.
Hey folks, it's Doug Rice. Did you know you can take PRN with you anywhere? By downloading the PRN mobile app, you can listen to our live races just about any place on the planet, and you will not miss a second of the action. Plus, you can hear our shows like the fantastic editions of Fast Talk, plus Brett McMillan on the Pit Reporters and Mark Garrow with Garage Pass. Get all the latest racing information right at your fingertips. The PRN mobile app, available at the Apple App Store and on Google Play.
This is Ryan Priest, and you're listening to PRN, the Performance Racing Network.
Hi, it's PRN's Brad Gilley. Did you know you could take PRN with you anywhere? That's right. By downloading the PRN mobile app, you can listen to our live race broadcast from anywhere. Make sure you don't miss a second of the action from the track. Download today for station listings and on-demand access to your favorite studio shows like Fast Talk, the Pit Reporters, or Garage Pass. Get all the latest racing information at your fingertips with the PRN mobile app. Available in the Apple App Store and on Google Play.
Hey, I'm Corley Joy for Speedway Children's Charities. The mission for Speedway Children's Charities has remained true since its founding almost 40 years ago, to care for children in educational, financial, social, and medical needs in order to help them lead happy and productive lives. So many children have benefited from our group in the past, but we need your help now more than ever. There's so much we can do when we all join together, so let's start today. Visit speedwaycharities.org to learn more. I thank you in advance for your help.
Before we jump over to green flag, black flag, Brad Gilley, we talked a lot about Chicago Street Course, third year. Lots and lots of discussion about that race not returning. Is San Diego a given at this point? It usually seems when we see these embers burning red hot like that there's usually a flame afterwards.
I would say, yeah, San Diego's been talked about for a couple of years now, and it seems like the wind is blowing that direction. I know they talked about Philadelphia, but I think you're too far down the road, to be able to get that on the schedule for the next year. I'm not completely lost on Chicago. I mean, this was a, hey, we're doing it. Okay, maybe we're not. Well, maybe 1 year, so on and so forth. But it really feels like after a great race weekend that was really weather-free, Adam Stern reported just a short while ago, Chicago alderman, quote, obviously we know that there's a 2-year 3-year extension that needs to be discussed. The administration's going to sit down with NASCAR in the coming weeks to try to work that out. Certainly, it's become a popular event in Chicago. That's just one quote that I've heard and read about from someone within Chicago saying, hey, we've figured this out. We enjoy it. We want it to stay here. So I don't know that I'm sold that it won't be back in Chicago, if not next year at some point.
Jeff Gluck wrote an article, too, for The Athletic talking about different drivers and their opinions on whether or not it should come back. And when you think about where potentially the opinions of the garage were year one based off of where they are year three, I think it's changed quite a bit. Kyle Larson said it was his favorite race of the year, had multiple drivers. Denny Hamlin talking about how when he was in market, he had heard lots of locals having conversations about the event and wanting to go and experience it. And so I think, a lot of things that the court of public opinion has certainly changed a lot since year one to year three. And that's got to be, a positive for a potential return.
I love the road course, Chicago street course, whatever you want to call it. I think it needs to move. If you want to keep continuing to generate buzz, you got to be new.
Yeah.
If we go back to Chicago, and I have no issues with that at all, there's not going to be that high level of buzz. If you go to a new town, NASCAR goes to Seattle, San Diego, Santa Fe for the first time ever. That's news, and that seems to be the pattern that NASCAR's following, 3 years and then hop to a new lily pad.
Well, and that's what I was just going to say, 3 years. I think you have to make sure that if you're making those deals, you do it for at least 2, hopefully 3 years, because you need that runway. You kind of need to get introduced into the city, into the town, and then have, that word of mouth from the first year trickle down to the second year and get that excitement for the locals to come. I think, a 3-year deal is probably, a sweet spot for something like that.
It seems to be that right now, but no matter what, kudos to NASCAR for being brave and trying something out of the box that seems to have actually worked. Let's do this.
It's time for another edition of Green Flag, Black Flag.
Yeah, and it works this way. I will read some carefully crafted statements written by highly overpaid writers, and we will let our panel mull those over. If they agree with the statement, it gets a green flag. If they disagree, a black flag. Oh, which was very loud. And if they're all in agreement, there you go. Works this way. Here we go. Doug Rice, we'll start with you. Trackhouse will get at least 2 cars to the round of 8.
Black flag. I just don't see that happening this year.
Yeah, and you know what? I think they could certainly get 1, and out of the 2 that they already have eligible for the playoffs, I think it would be SVG.
That's where I'm going. Even though I like Ross Chastain a lot, I think that's an extremely long shot.
Yep, agreed. Black flag for me, too.
Black flag there. 2 black flags, Brad. What you got?
Yeah, black flag, but I disagree with the driver that makes it to the round of 8 because Chastain's going to the championship 4. I don't know what y'all are talking about.
Mark the tape.
Yeah.
We're going to have to go back to that.
That's the future bride of Brad Gilley voting.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
Alexis Erickson, let's give you this one. Bubba Wallace is running out of time to prove that he belongs in the 23 car.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it in the last segment, and I think that statement couldn't be more true. Obviously, we know that Michael Jordan likes him a lot. Denny Hamlin likes him a lot. He's got great sponsors that support him, but there's only so much time, in a ride before somebody else, a new prospect, hot prospect, comes up and potentially steals it from you. Just ask Daniel Suarez.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Brad?
I'll say black flag only because he recently signed a multi-year deal to return. But as far as performance goes, yeah, green flag.
All right, Doug Rice.
Well, I love your Connor Zilic analogy, though. I mean, that's true. Yeah, he may have a contract, but are you really going to be loved? When will I be loved?
I mean, and a lot of those contracts have options, too, by the way, for certain,
performance
clauses. Absolutely. 1,000%.
The black flag.
There it is. All right, Brad Gilley, try this one here. NASCAR should surround all road courses with walls on each side.
Oh, green flag. Are you kidding? I'm all about the carnage, chaos, and violence. Let's plug these suckers up when someone gets sideways. Why not?
Captain Chaos.
The clog. Here we go. Doug Rice.
They're still moving cars from the street course up at Chicago, so sure, Green flag.
Okay, Alexis.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I could see it both ways. I'm going to say black flag just to be different, because when we go to Sonoma this weekend, there is a vast amount of space for cars to spin out into the sand and the gravel and everything else, and that's very exciting too. So, sign me up for that.
All right. And Doug, you guys just discussed this. Let's make it official. NASCAR will land on a new street venue in 2026. Are you willing to go ahead and predict that?
Yeah, green flag, San Diego, here we come.
San Diego. Okay, Alexis?
Yeah, I'm going to say green flag too. I think from what I've been hearing, they're pretty far down the line on signing a deal. So we'll see it in 2026.
Brad Gilley.
All right, just to be different, I'll say black flag. New venue, but maybe not street course.
Chicagoland Speedway, perhaps.
That's exciting.
Or maybe across the border.
Oh.
All right. By the way, did you happen to see the segment they did on ketchup on CBS Sunday Morning yesterday?
On ketchup?
Yeah.
No.
Ketchup.
How it does not belong on hot dogs? Was that the story?
It does not belong on hot dogs ever.
Yes. You have to send that to me. I need to send it to someone.
Don't tell my 3-year-old son that, because he's
Larry Mack and I had a debate about this.
And ketchup.
I thought you were no ketchup guy on hot dog. Is that right, Brad?
Isn't that right? It does not belong on hot dogs.
In any way, shape, or form.
Mustard's for hot dogs. Okay. Ketchup's for burgers.
Unless
and
you're
fries.
Alexis and it's spicy mustard.
Spicy mustard.
That's right.
I don't care for either on my hot dog. I'm a chili slaw person. But that's because I'm from the South, and eat hot dogs are kind of just...
Chili's acceptable, but then it's a chili dog.
It takes all kinds to make the world go round,
Really? Okay.
Absolutely.
But that's endless. That's endless because we held a cookout at our house this weekend, watching people prepare their burgers and hot dogs. No two were alike. So,
and I have to say, after this show last week where I said that I like slaw and spicy horseradish mustard, your wife Penny went out specifically to buy me sauerkraut and spicy mustard. So thank you, Miss Penny.
Love that. That's fantastic.
Did
you put the ketchup next to the fries?
There were no fries.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but there was ketchup there. I wasn't doing a ketchup tax on who was using it at all.
Probably still has a seal on it.
Alexis, it will probably take you about 20 more trips to our house to use up all the kraut, so I may just bring that in.
Well, Penny did tell me I better eat the whole jar, so I'll be by later for another hot dog.
We got to take our last time out. We'll be back with one last thing.
From fueling NASCAR champions on the track for over 20 years to innovating 94 octane, the highest octane on the market. Performance is what Sunoco does. All Sunoco fuel at the pump meets the same top-tier standards as the fuel used in NASCAR. From the track to your tank, you can trust Sunoco to help your vehicle perform at its peak.
The NASCAR playoffs return to New Hampshire Motor Speedway September 19th to 21st. This year, it's going to be wicked faster and wicked funner. 3 days of racing, camping, concerts, and fireworks. Grab your friends or make some new ones. And when the checkered flag drops, one driver takes home the Giant Lobster. Don't miss New England's biggest race weekend, the NASCAR Playoffs, September 19th through 21st. Get your tickets now at nhms.com.
This is Daniel Suarez, and you're listening to the PRN, the Performance Racing Network.
A NASCAR memory with Doug Rice and Kyle Petty.
They established the Hall of Fame. First two people that get in, besides your dad, is Bill France Sr. and Bill Jr. Your time behind the wheel overlapped with Bill Jr., didn't
Yes,
it?
for sure. For sure. I was called to the truck many times while Bill Jr. was in there. But you know what? What I remember about Bill Jr. as much as anything was being a kid and him sitting and talking to my dad or talking to my granddad. And Bill Sr. would be in some of those conversations, but you'd sit down at the racetrack and they would talk about where the sport was and where the sport was going. Bill was never satisfied with where the sport was. And that is the one thing that I came to admire about him. At the time, I didn't. At the time, I didn't appreciate it as much. But, you know, I'll never forget we were doing some stuff, and I was driving for Felix, and I was called to the truck, and I was reminded gently by Bill France Jr. that this was his sport. And if I would like to participate in his sport, that I needed to kind of change my ways. And I changed my ways so that I could participate in his sport.
This weekend, the Performance Racing Network team will make their single longest trip of the year as a group as they head out to Sonoma Raceway for the Toyota Save Mart 350. Brad Gilley, you always like your trips to Northern California?
I do. I love going to Northern California. It's beautiful up there. We've made tons of memories there. All of us have, which is a great thing. And I can't wait for this weekend. From what I understand, it's going to be a little bit warm there up in the Sonoma Valley, which will be fantastic. We need this new pavement on the racetrack to heat up, to start to wear out those tires and put on a great show. So I think we're going to have a great one to call both Saturday and Sunday.
Getting back to the theme at the start of the show, Alexis, is this going to be another SVG tribute show, or do we see one or two other potential winners?
Well, it's interesting because you and I talked about it in the break, and we circled about three other names that we thought could potentially win this race, from Ty Gibbs, who has been putting on a great show on road courses lately, to Chris Buescher, who is also really great over. And then you have AJ Allmendinger. So I don't know if SVG is a foregone conclusion. Let's just say that.
No, that's true. Brad, this is pivotal, though. If SVG can go out there and win another one of these, as we talked earlier, man, he's packing playoff points in the bank.
Yeah, he is. He is. Let's not forget about the local driver, Kyle Larson. He's won there twice in the last 4 races and has been very, very strong. And I think he has a great shot. But for Van Gisbergen, this will be fun. This is his first time to race a Cup car on Sonoma Raceway. If he could go out there and take the trophy, I think it would be demoralizing, honestly, for a lot of the rest of the field. Then I wonder if he should go out there and win Sonoma, if literally the rest of the field won't allow him to win at Watkins Glen, which he almost did last year.
That's a good point.
Yeah, Chris Buescher took advantage of him because SVG made a little bobble on the very last lap, and Buescher,
he is not invincible.
No, he was not invincible.
Racing.
Yep.
But the last 2 road course races, he's pretty much looked like he's got a big ass on his chest.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
One last thing.
Brad Gilley?
Well, to your point, not only do we head to Sonoma this weekend for the Toyota Save Mart 350, we've got a busy few weeks ahead of us with the Performance Racing Network. After that, we head to the Monster Mile in Dover, July 19th and 20th, an Xfinity Cup weekend for us on the broadcast, which is going to be exciting. Dover is trucking in 600 tons of sand, by the way. They're going to put it right in front of Miles the Monster, and it's going to be Miles Beach. They're going to have the world's largest rubber duck there again, and it's also the Delaware State Fair next weekend, which I'm actually going to try and venture on down to that, but they're offering shuttle service to the State Fair, down to Rehoboth Beach, a lot going on there. And then we combine with the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Radio Network to do the Brickyard 400, which is going to be a lot of fun. But I think the one thing I would love to invite people to do is go check out GoPRN.com. And not only the schedule that we have coming up, the Motor Racing Network also has a great schedule coming up, but the schedule of our other shows like this one, Fast Talk, the Pit Reporters with Brett McMillan, At the Track with Lenny Baticki, our brand new country show, Kyle Petty's Back Then Again Country Countdown with Charlie and Debbie, and of course Garage Pass with Mark Garrow. We've got a lot to offer. You can stream it. You can check it all out at GoPRN.com. Please do so. We're going to be busy for the next month. It's going to be awesome.
Very awesome. I'm looking forward to all of that. With 7 races to go in the regular season, this is crunch time, folks, for these race teams and these drivers. We have what we've already discussed is a cut line that is most likely going to move once, possibly twice. You also have the finishing of the in-season tournament, and then our switch from TNT to NBC. There's a lot that's going to be happening over the next few weeks. So to get us ready for the playoffs. So just sit back and enjoy it. Sometimes the summer months can feel like a bit of a lull, but I feel like there's so much excitement in the air right now.
My one last thing is, I know there was a lot of discussion about the in-season tournament, and so many of the big names got knocked out in Atlanta. But here's the plus of that. Here we are heading to the 3rd round of the in-season tournament, and we're still talking about people like John Hunter Nemechek, Ty Dillon, Eric Jones, Ty Gibbs, AJ Allmendinger. Yeah. So we've got a lot of people who never have the sunshine or the spotlight on them at all. And we're talking about them right up front as we head to the third race in the in-season tournament. So maybe it's not the way that we saw it working out, but I think there's a hidden beauty to all this. I want to thank the team behind the scenes here. Of course, that's David Stiles, Kemp Earnhardt, and Harold Hambrick. For Alexis Erickson, Brad Gilley, I am Doug Rice. It's been a pleasure chatting with you, and we will be back next week with a whole bunch more Fast Talk.
Fast Talk was presented by Toyota. For the latest Toyota Gazoo racing information, visit tgrna.com. And by Sunoco. From NASCAR to your car, Sunoco Fuel helps your car reach peak performance. This is PRN, the Performance Racing Network.